morning, everybody. So glad you're here at Crossroads Church. Welcome. Take a second, say hi to those around you. Maybe introduce yourself to someone you don't know, and then continue to stand. We'll keep singing.
Wanna be where you are. My whole life I place in your hands. God of mercy, humbled I bow. rescue, and I wanna be where you are.
Well, good morning. You can have a seat. Welcome to Crossroads. Man, what a day, huh? What a day. Glad that you're here. My name's Dennis. I'm a pastor here at Crossroads, and I'm glad you're here for this weekend. We're in a series called Love Works, and today you're going to get to meet a living, breathing example of courageous love, and you're going to get to hear about that in just a few minutes. If you like your experience today, like maybe you're a guest or visitor, again, a special welcome if this is like your first time here. If you like what you experienced today, we'll be here next weekend. And we're going to do a similar thing. And Saturday night at 5 o'clock, Sunday morning, 9:30 and 11, exact same service times as this weekend. And we'd love to have you come back. Everybody is welcome anytime here at Crossroads. And there's a few things going on I want to remind you about. One is this afternoon at 12:15, we're having what we call a Crossroads membership class. And what it really is our senior pastor teaches that, John Smith, and it's about our vision, our purpose, what makes us tick, what's the DNA of Crossroads. If you could open the curtain and peek behind the scenes, what's this place all about? And so we'd invite you to come for that if you've never participated in that. It includes lunch, we take care of your kids. It's out in the student center at 12:15, and we just invite you to come back for that if you want to find out more about what makes this place tick. And then the other thing is coming up this summer, we have 3 weeks of high octane, high intensity, high learning camps for kids. And if you can imagine, I mean, some of you are in the education system, you know what this is like, but imagine being here for a full week with kids in a setting doing things like this. Man, doesn't that look like fun? It does. It's not only fun, but the kids actually learn something as well. So if you have kids in your life, your own kids, grandkids, neighbor kids, kids in the neighborhood where you go, those kids could use some church, this would be a great time. So get them signed up. You can check it out here. We have a rock climbing wall in the south parking lot today. Maybe you saw it when you come in. So that's just a teaser for this summer. We're going to have that at every camp this summer. So get your kids signed up. They will fill up. So don't hesitate to do that. Stop by and get some more information out there. Well, there's more going on around here. I just mentioned a couple things. Take that program home that you picked up on the way in. Check our website. We got a lot of cool stuff happening at Crossroads. We're going to receive our weekend offering right now. And we do this every time we meet because there are people who love what we do. They want to get behind it. And we want to give people an opportunity to do that. And if you're a guest or visitor, no obligation to participate in this part of our time together. Would you pray with me? Lord, it's a gift to be able to be alive today. It really is. And it's a gift to be able to be here in this setting with these people at this moment. And you are the giver. You are the great giver of good gifts. And you are the good giver of great gifts. And so God, open each of us up to what gift you have for us to hear today. In your name, amen.
To be humble, to be kind, it is the giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are loved, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
Well, I want to add my welcome to everybody that is here this morning. You know, February 27th, 2012, 6 high school students were killed and 3 were wounded in a high school shooting in Chardon, Ohio. 3 were wounded, 3 were killed, 3 were wounded in a high school shooting in Chardon, Ohio. You probably don't even remember the high school shooting, that one, because they happen so often. Frank Hall was an assistant football coach there at Chardon High School, and he helped stop the shooter. Frank wishes nobody knew his name. Frank wishes nobody knew the name Frank Hall. Frank wishes he wasn't here today, but God had his reasons why the biggest guy in the school was the only adult there present when that shooting took place. And he's been called an American hero, but he deflects those comments always. He says, no way, no way. I'm a regular guy, ordinary guy, just an ordinary guy. It was a typical Monday, February 27th, 2012. Typical Monday for Frank. Gets to school early, 45 minutes early. He's putting together some new plays for the offense that day. Then at 7:05, students start filing in as usual. They start coming into the cafeteria, and he's keeping order, as he always does, by high-fiving them, chest bumps, greeting them, all of that. Then he sits down at a table. And at 7:45, quickly, everything changed. Everything. He heard 2 loud pops. He thought they were firecrackers. But Frank was faced with the question no one can truly answer. What would you do at the sound of gunfire? No time to react, Scott Pelley said in a 60 Minutes piece on the school shooting in Chardon, Ohio. No time to react. Just a fraction of a second in the months of consequences that follow.
So much time has passed, and still no one in Chardon, Ohio knows why it happened. Forbes had said that this was the 4th best place in America to raise a family, and many of the 5,000 in Chardon credited the high school, ranked excellent 13 years in a row.
911, what is your emergency? This is Chardon High School calling. We need assistance right now. There's a student with a gun.
At 7:35, the call came from the principal's office. There, teacher Tim Armelli heard shots down the hall.
You got onto the school PA and said what?
Lockdown. Teachers go to lockdown.
In the cafeteria, through the door on the left, a 17-year-old boy who went by the initials TJ was shooting to kill. He'd put 10 rounds in his gun and 6 letters across his shirt. Killer, it said.
I saw a young man firing into a crowd. I just stood up, shoved my table out of the way, and started after him.
It's tough, even now, for Frank Hall to speak of it. But with the support of his wife, he told us what happened when he charged at the boy with the gun.
He raises his weapon at me. I jump behind a Pepsi machine. I hear another fire.
That bullet missed Hall. so he kept chasing the student down the corridor.
And he sees me and he takes off down the hallway. So I chase after him again, screaming, yelling, kids still running.
Pursued by Hall, the shooter ran without loading the second magazine that he carried with 10 more rounds.
Then I chase TJ out the doors and I lose him in the parking lot. And 47 seconds. From the first shot till he exits the doors, 47 seconds.
Hall ran back to the cafeteria where Daniel Parmertor, Demetrius Hewlin, and Russell King were not going to survive.
You just knew that it wasn't going to end well. You know, so I just asked God to be in this place with us and to be with them. And then I went around and I tried to comfort him the best I could. And Demetrius had a long tear on his face, and I wiped it and tried to make Danny and Russell as comfortable as I could. You know, what was only a couple minutes seemed like forever waiting for the paramedics and law enforcement. It was tough.
But those boys needed somebody to be with them.
Yeah, you know, I'm so thankful. Very thankful that I could be there.
He acted as a father. You know, he acted as someone that was those kids' parents while they're away from home.
There's nothing in the plan that says assistant football coach chases gunmen through the school.
You know, you just think about getting him out of your room. You know, get him out of your area. I just reacted that day. I just, you know, he was hurting our kids, and that's all I did. I just reacted.
We're very honored, very privileged to have Frank and Ashley Hall with us this weekend at Crossroads. So would you help me give Frank Hall a welcome today? Well, Frank and Ashley, we are very honored that you would travel from Ohio to Colorado just to be with us today. Very grateful for both of you and for what's taken place, the role you played there at Chardon High School. And I've seen the 60 Minutes piece, the entire piece, a number of times. I've read many of the articles, especially the Sports Illustrated piece, and I'll tell you, every time I read that piece and see the entire clip, I'm moved to tears on all of it. And you've deflected any kind of hero talk always, but Frank, you were the only adult that was present when that happened. And when you took off after that shooter, took off after him immediately, and then when he stopped and turned that .22 caliber semi-automatic handgun on you and fired, I mean, it was just that vending machine that saved you. And then you could have saved yourself after that, but instead, you continued to take off after him, throwing up your hands, yelling, "Stop, stop," and you chased him out of the building. When you got out of that building and you came back in, what did you feel when you first re-entered the building?
You know, about a year before this, we had a live fire drill and a live shooter drill where we went through everything we were supposed to do. And I came back in, you know, it was just like the drill. Everything was locked down. You could hear you couldn't hear a whisper. Everything, the kids were secured. Everything. Our teachers did a tremendous job, and it was like a ghost town. And at the end of this hallway was the cafeteria that I had to go back down. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to go. I knew what was down there, and but I knew that's why God put me in that place. Not to chase the shooter out, not to be the largest individual in that cafeteria. It was to be there for those kids at the end. And I went down, and you know, the leading researchers or professionals tell you in a crisis situation, you revert back to what's most important to you. And I did. I dropped to my knees and I said, "Father God, be in this place. Father God, be with us. Be with these children. And, today I believe those children are in heaven. I believe that God sent the Holy Spirit down that day and ministered to those children and that they're in heaven with God today.
So the first thing you did, you came back in and felt that silence in the place and just dropped to your knees and prayed to God and asked God to be in the place.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, that's incredible. Incredible. Very. Yeah, the school then closed, of course, and it closed for just 3 days, and then it reopened. It reopened in just 3 days. That was a Monday. It reopened on a Thursday. What was that like when people came back?
Our administrators, our principal Andy Fetchick and our superintendent Joe Brigant did a tremendous job with this situation. Mm-hmm. They knew we needed to get our kids back as soon as possible. They knew that we needed to fight this evil and not let the evil win. Mm-hmm. And those kids that came back that day with their parents side by side, that met at the town square and just marched back into school and took it over. It was a tremendous thing. They're the true heroes. They decided that they were not going to let evil win, that they were going to take their school back, take their community back. And it was just an awesome thing to see.
Yeah, the school and the administrators, the community, as you've told me, did so much to try to bring life back to normal as quickly as possible. That Thursday when they came, I know you got a couple hugs. Is that?
Yeah, I stood 5 feet away from where the shooting was. And the people didn't avoid it. They came back, and I must have gave 1,000 hugs that day. And it was a tremendous thing to show that we weren't going to let evil win, that the good was going to win. And it was just a tremendous day that those people came back that day.
Was that hard, hugging a line of 1,000?
As the weeks and months went on, I became hugged out. And I went to my principal, Andy, and I said, I don't have any hugs left. And he said, you don't need the hugs. The people that are getting the hugs are the ones that need it. And that spoke deeply to me, and that's why I'm doing this today. It's not about me. It's about the 3 young men that lost their lives that day, and how we can't ever let that happen again. It's about the great thing that God did that day. Romans tells us that God is not the author of evil.
That's right.
But God interceded that day. And the days that came after that, and all the cards and letters that we received with his name on it, God bless your school. Praise the Lord that you're able to fight back and all this stuff. It was a tremendous day that God could be in that school and his presence there.
And what did they do with all those letters that came?
Our it's kind of a unique story. Our historical society of Geauga County has took on the job of saving those and documenting those. Every single card that we got was documented, no matter how small or everyone's documented and they're keeping the history of it, so that we don't forget.
School got back in session in 3 days. Came back, everybody took the school back. Then you had a little over 5 weeks, and spring break came. You had 9 days off. Tell us how that affected you. That finally that time off that you had.
Yeah, you're so busy trying to take care of people, and then went to spring break and there was no one to take care of anymore, and you start thinking about things. What if I was in this position, or what if I was closer, or what if I would have seen something that could have tipped me off to what was going on, and the guilt just became overwhelming. I was always thinking of why couldn't I have been somewhere else to take care of this. And, the devil wanted that to happen that day. But he wasn't counting on someone to be there and proclaiming God to be in this place. And he was upset. I'm telling you, he was mad. And one night in the spring break, I woke up and I saw something at the edge of my bed. And he just started talking to me about the guilt. You should have done more. You should have been able to save those kids. And I believe to this day that was sent from the devil to try and just to tear me up inside. After spring break, the first day I didn't go back. Second day I didn't go back. Third day I didn't go back. I didn't think I was ever going to make it back. Our head coach, Mitch Hewitt, was a very dear friend, very good, godly man. Him and another coach, brought their pastor to my house, and we prayed, and we prayed that the guilt that I was receiving wasn't from God, that it was from the devil. And the next day I got up, went to work, and got back into the fight, and started working with our kids again.
Did you feel like you could move beyond that voice that was, just so strong in your head? You said to me, why didn't I throw a book at him when I first saw him? Why didn't I dive at his feet? Stuff like that. I mean, how did that help, that prayer?
Absolutely. We claimed victory over that guilt.
Yeah.
That it wasn't coming from God, that this was from the devil, and that we were going to fight it, and we just proclaimed victory, and that it was taken away.
Yeah, you came back, and the school did some things for you, and not just for you, but for the entire student body.
They were tremendous to me. The day that the Sandy Hook incident happened with the school shooting, I was at my desk, and I started seeing reports that a couple people had died, and that was it. And I thought, well, maybe they were able to save all the kids. And then you start seeing other reports that kids were killed. And as that day went on, it wasn't, I couldn't make it. And our principal called in a sub without even me knowing about it, and just sent him in there and said, Frank, you come with me. And, probably my best friend there, Doug Snyder, who's our AD, took me to his office, and just spent time together and that day, and just took care of me that day, and I was greatly appreciative of that.
Yeah, Sandy Hook was about 9.5 months later when that happened. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the 3 boys that lost their lives. I think we have a picture of them. Tell us about Russell, and which one's Russell?
This is the most important thing that happened that day.
Yeah.
We can't lose sight of that these 3 children, the most important thing happened, that they lost their lives. And we have to keep that in the forefront of everything. But Daniel, Russell would love this area. He was a hunter, as a fisherman. Him and his dad were always hunting and fishing, just loved the outdoors. And Demetrius may have been the smartest kid in our school. He would not go to class for 3-4 days, show up and ace a test. And it would absolutely drive our teachers crazy, but just a good kid. And Danny was the closest to me. Geeks, nerds, jocks, they all loved Danny. He went beyond all the barriers, and he was just one of those kids that everybody loved to be around. And we would always joke. One day I wore a shirt to school, a little snug on me, and Danny goes, "Hey, Mr. Hall, when you're done with that shirt, my little brother wants it back." And so he was just a fun kid. Just always had just fun to be around him. And I miss them all dearly.
Yeah, I'm sure. What you took a trip to New York City at one point. Tell everybody about what kind of turned around for you at that.
We went to New York City that summer on vacation, and we tried to go to a baseball game every summer. We went to the Yankee Stadium that summer. But there's a museum there, the USS Intrepid Museum, and it's an old World War II aircraft carrier. And on the museum, they had a display about kamikaze attacks during World War II. And it talked about the one that hit the Intrepid. And it was a very unique display, the way they had it. And they had a service or a sailor on there talk about how that day was the worst day in the history of the Intrepid, because he lost 67 sailors that day. And but he also talked about how that was their greatest day, because they saved the ship. They didn't let the ship go down, and they got back into the fight. And those men didn't die in vain that day. They got back into the fight and ultimately, overcame. And that's what we're doing here. We're getting back into the fight. And we're not going to let evil overcome us. We're going to get back, and we're going to show that good is the way to go.
And you took that message back to the school.
Yeah, I went back and we talked to the staff about it, and they accepted that challenge, and it's just a beautiful place to be right now because of our teachers, because of our administrations. They've done a tremendous job of just being there for the kids and each other. the principal from Columbine, Frank
DeAngelis.
He came out and spoke to us, and he talked about how we're in a fraternity that nobody wants to be in, and that no one really understands until you're in that situation. And so, by us talking about getting back into that fight and being there for each other, it was a good thing for us to be a part of.
And that inspired the school. I mean, things started, some other things have been a result of that. FCA.
Yeah, our FCA has grown since then. Coach Hewitt, our head coach there, and I ran it, and since I left, he's taken it up and it's grown. There's a Pay It Forward organization in our school that's just does great things for our community and other people. They've gone down to Virginia Tech and worked with people in the school shooting down there, and it's just tremendous things have come out of this. That Danny and Russell and Demetrius didn't die in vain. That we're going to do things to keep their name alive and help other people.
That's right. And didn't Chardon did something for Sandy Hook when that took place? Either the community or the school, letters or
absolutely. We sent out Columbine sent us a beautiful banner when our school shooting happened. All the kids in the high school signed it. It was just beautiful the way they said it to us, and we passed that forward to Sandy Hook also.
Yeah.
And in their support. I'm gonna ask you all to pray for me in a couple of weeks, because I'm going out there in a couple of weeks to speak with them, and I'm a little anxious about that, but I know God will send us there with a purpose to help those people heal and move on and do what we can.
Yeah, and we will do that. We'll pray for you about that trip before our time right here. We want to hear a little bit about your family also, because we've seen some clips. In the clip, it talks about the 4 kids you have, but that's not accurate anymore. There's not 4. There's
6. We're up to 6 now.
They're up to 6. We see a picture of your family here.
That was Christian's birthday, I believe. No, the twins' birthday. Somebody's birthday. There's a lot of birthdays out there.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is before we had Amir and Aubrey, but this is Sean and Mark, Quincy, our 18-year-old, and Christian beside me. So.
Now we have some other ones. Let's see. Okay,
these are 2 new ones, Aubrey and Amir, and then Mark and Sean in the middle. The 2 on the end are 7 years old, and they're in the 99th percentile of all 7th graders. So they're pretty large individuals.
Yeah, we got another one of them, I think. Yeah.
This is usually how they're acting, not the other way. So this is normal.
That other one was posed. Yeah, this is normal. Yeah. But you have the 2 twins that are 7.
We have 2 twins. Yeah.
And then
Mark and Sean are twins. They love to eat. Last week, Ashley told me that we went through 7 loaves of bread that week and 4 gallons of milk. So they love to eat. But Mark and Sean are twins. And just to tell you how great God is to us, Ashley found Mark and Sean on the internet up for adoption. She'd come and say, "What do you think about these 2?" We'll see. And finally, she came to me and said, "We got to take them before they split them up as twins, and they're taken away." And we come to find out that one of the issues was that Sean, the littlest one, has tubular sclerosis, and what that is where tumors attack his body. They're non-cancerous. They're just things that grow on his heart. He has one on his heart and in his brain, and it's a scary thought. But this is how good God is. The world, the leading research in the entire world on tubular sclerosis is at the Cleveland Clinic, which is less than an hour away from us. And God knew that we would need that someday. And he put him there, I believe, just for our family. And he's, just a tremendous blessing to know that that's there for us. And, God, there's always another loaf of bread. There's always another gallon of milk. He's always provided. And I'm just so thankful for him for that.
That's right. And God will continue to provide that when it's
absolutely
maybe 7 gallons of milk a day.
Yeah,
keep remembering that.
Yeah,
God
I'm
is
sure
gonna
I do my
provide.
share of damage to the.
You think
the
you're
road and milk,
you're
so.
contributing a little to
Yeah.
yourself. You know, me talking with both of you on Friday and even last night, I would say, you know, just what you said. You know, we are ordinary people. We're regular people, and they are very humble, very real, very down to earth. But Frank, I got to say, not everybody gets their cover on the their picture on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Let's look at that. I mean, that's June 24th, 2013.
You know, the great story about this was I had no idea that it was going to be a cover.
Yeah.
Because when this came out, the NBA Finals was going on, the Stanley Cup Finals, the U.S. Open, and it wasn't until I got a call from our local reporter that I found out it was on the cover. They never told me. But when I would go out and speak, I'm not. Let me tell you how bad I am at speaking. When I was a sophomore in high school, I go to my guidance counselor, Mr. Nappy, and I say, Mr. Nappy, I think I need to take one of these foreign language classes now. And Mr. Nappy looks at me and he goes, you know what? Let's concentrate on the foreign language you got right now. I said, what foreign language? She goes, English. So I would go out and to help myself calm down and relax, I would tell the story about the Sports Illustrated. And after the shooting, you know, it was a tremendous amount of media coverage and everything. And I didn't want to be that guy, you know, looking for that 15 minutes of fame. That's not what this is about. This is about keeping those three young men in the forefront in this issue. But I was down in the basement working, and my wife hollered down and said, you know, it's Sports Illustrated on the phone. And I'm a sports guy. That's the one thing I love. And I thought, you know, I may never have an opportunity to be in Sports Illustrated. So I come running up the steps, you know what, I'll take this one. So I get on the phone, and I said, this is Mr. Hall. And a young lady on the other end goes, hi, Mr. Hall, I have a great offer of a 2-year subscription to Sports Illustrated. And so that's my Sports Illustrated.
That was good. That was good. But they did contact you.
A year later, the gentleman that did this, Gary Smith, who's a great writer, called and said, you know what, Frank, we need to keep this, alive. We can't become numb to school shootings. It just can't happen. I mean, when Columbine happened, everybody knew it. I mean, we can't sit here and tell us what every school has had a school shooting now.
No.
And we can't let that happen.
That's right.
And,
even you had said, even when after Chardon shooting happened, and you know, people in Sandy Hook, 9.5 months later, heard about it. They didn't know the story.
Yeah, they didn't know.
They didn't know the story of the shooting at Chardon 9.5 months earlier, or the football coach that chased the shooter out of the building. Just that quickly. When Columbine happened, this is what you had said. Everybody in the world knew about it at that time. Now we're so desensitized to it.
Yeah.
You know, there was a guy from Arizona. You didn't know at all. Saw that article, read that article. What did he do?
He sent a card, and he sent $1,000. He said, you know what, take your family somewhere and enjoy on a vacation, enjoy the trip. So we went to Washington, D.C., took the kids. We wanted them to see Arlington Cemetery and talk about that and how precious our freedom is. But we were there. The kids kept saying, Mark, he's like our intellectual one. Dad, let's go to the White House. I said, well, we just can't show up at the White House. He goes, well, President Obama will know who you are. I'm like, I'm not famous, Mark. And just about that time, we get in an elevator, and there was a lady that keeps looking at me. And she goes, hey, you're on TV. You're famous. And Mark looked at me and said, yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, what are some of the principles that you live by that, made you who you are?
I love that you have a construction site up here for love, because it's hard work. You have to work on it every day. And, one of the greatest joys in my life I have is watching my wife make lunch for 7 people. I mean, it's like an assembly line up there. And, you know, we qualify for free and reduced lunch because we have so many people in our family. But she loves us so much that she wants to make sure that we're eating right and that she takes care of the kids. And for her to make, you know, 12 sandwiches a night and to make sure that she does that every single day, you know, that's a picture of love. And I love to watch her take care of the kids. And, you know, that's the principles we live by, is loving our family, loving one another, you know, love the Lord with all of our heart and our neighbors as ourselves. That's what that we try to do, and we fail. You know, there's times that we fail in it, but we got to get up every day and get back into the fight and just try and show people. You know, words are words, but your actions speak loud. And, you know, people want to see how you treat them, not how you speak to them. So it's important to show the love you care about people.
And I know you care so much about kids and about schools. You said schools should be the number one importance to us in America. You said not Wall Street, not Capitol Hill. Should be schools, it's kids. And then you said this, every kid is someone's pride and joy, or wants to be someone's pride and joy. And it's my responsibility to be that someone for them. I keep thinking, how would I want my kid to be treated? And then I treat them that way.
You know, that's talk about courageous love, and I think about who's, you know, that I'm God's pride and joy. That's how He loves me, and I think about the most courageous love that there is to me, and it's when Jesus is in the garden and He's praying to the Lord. If there's any other way, Lord, get me out of this. You know, He looks up and says, Father. He says, Daddy, please. You know, at that moment, it doesn't say in the Bible what God's answer was to him, but I believe that He took a picture of my family, and how much we would need Him, and how much you know, the sacrifice He was given for my family. And I believe that Jesus stood up that day and He put His foot on the devil's face and He said, bring it on. And then 3 days later, He rose victorious for my family. And you know, that's the greatest love there is. And you know, when we have children out there, you know, we need to treat them like that. We need to be, you know, that's somebody's pride and joy. If they don't have a father and mother, that's God's pride and joy. And then we need to treat them as such. And, you know, it's important that you do that. And, you know, sometimes it's a kick in the rear, and sometimes it's a hug around the neck. You know, whatever it may be, the action that you show them that you care is important. That's right. And the greatest action of love we ever had was that, was Jesus dying on the cross. And, you know, it's just taking care of people.
Right, love is not something we just talk about, or it's not just a feeling. It sees itself in action. Absolutely. And it sees itself in what we do for other people. You know, the Bible says that. You can't say that we love God and hate other people. I mean, that's how it's expressed, our love for God, and it shows itself in how we treat one another.
You know, the fact that I was the largest individual in that school, the largest target in that school. I used to love to play paintball, but the trees were, and I was, so I had to give it up. But the fact that God chose,
that's right.
You know, that God chose me to be there.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that I wasn't shot or anything, it was because God's hand was upon me. That's the only reason. And you know, someone as flawed as me, you know, I wasn't, you know, a super ninja that could chase this guy down. Yeah. You know, it was God's hand upon me, and you know, just someone that's very flawed, that was used by God, and that's the message that, you know, whoever you are, you can be used by God, and just through your love for God. You know, I've always loved the Lord. I was fortunate to be raised in a Christian family, and I haven't been perfect by any means, but there's always been a love for God there, and He's real. The love is real. About a month ago, I was struggling with my job, and it's a very hard job, a lot of issues that we deal with, and I just went to our altar at church and prayed, and I could feel his arm around my neck, just giving me a hug. I felt it just as sure as anything, and it just, you know, I can get through this now, and it's a tremendous thing to have that love of God. And
you know, you've said that you're not a hero, you know, and in fact that song we just sang said, you know what, Heroes don't look like what we think. A hero is all of us. We all have that capacity. But I do have to say, you chased a shooter after you were shot. You said you were just doing your job. And that is a reflex of who you are, who God created you to be. As I've heard your story and Ashley's story, Ashley works for Child Protective Services in the county there. Person that God created you to be cares for and protects people, kids especially, but people. On your honeymoon 8 or 9 years ago, on their honeymoon, they went to New Orleans because somebody needed to help clean up after Katrina, the hurricane. You've adopted 6 biracial or African-American kids with medical issues, as you have heard, and the others with learning and attention problems, protected hundreds at Chardon, changing the lives at the school you're at now, Lakeside High School. I mean, that was not an easy move from Chardon moving over to Lakeside.
Well, I decided that's my hometown. That's where I'm from, and they've had a rough couple years there. And when I met with my team at Chardon, I said, you have a lot of people here that care about you and want to take care of you. But I wasn't sure that those kids at Lakeside had that. And we made the move, and it's a struggle each day. But each day we've gotten better, and it's through those actions that we have, And again, there's great people there. Our principal, Donnie Reproofs, and our AD, Greg Zanelli, do a great job for us. And, sometimes they need that kick in the rear, and sometimes they need that hug around the neck. And the thing that they do know is that I'm there for them. Our first day, we had a meeting, and, I tell them this, that my faith and my family come first, and then it's you guys. I tell them that I love them on a daily basis, that I care about them. And not all get that, at home. I gave them a card that's my number on it. And on the back was a Bible verse, and, 4:13.
Yes, Philippians 4:13.
We can do all things through Christ. And I told them, if you're in a party and you need to get home, you call me. If you're a place where you're afraid to be, you call me. And, it's tough to put yourself out there like that, but they need that. They need that, and I think that's important for them to know that you're there for them.
And the demographics of Lakeside High, where you are now, and Chardon High are very different.
Yeah, Lakeside, I think we're like 78% free reduced lunch. Chardon, Joliet County is one of the richest counties in the entire state of Ohio. But this is the one thing that I found out going from Chardon Lakeside, that kids are kids, no matter where they're at. And they want to be loved, they want to be hugged. And, at times they want that kick in the rear. They want to be disciplined and have structure. And they just want to be cared for and loved and show that they're somebody's pride and joy.
That's right, you do that. And you are ordinary person, regular guy of extraordinary character. And character, we see character in the midst of crisis, and we see character in our reflexes of how we treat people around us.
And all this stuff that we do, we receive blessings tenfold back. When we had our first, we adopted our first child, Christian. He's my best friend in the whole world. I couldn't get on the computer and design a better kid for me. When he was a little boy, he'd crawl all on my lap and he'd say, "Daddy, I need you." Well, he was supposed to go to bed, and Mom was making him go to bed, so he'd come to me. and he would get on my lap, and he'd grab my face and squeeze it. And he'd say, "Daddy, I need you." And you get to stay up about another half hour. But those are things that I'll never forget. His little face, and it's just a blessing that God gave me with him. And my beautiful wife, and the secret. I'm gonna tell you the secret of life, and this is the secret of life: to marry well. If you marry well, things in life will go a lot easier. And God put her in my life for for extraordinary things, and she's just a great lady.
Well, you both have huge hearts. I'm going to invite Ashley to come up, and I want to pray for both of you. And so why don't we stand? Why don't we all stand together? And I do want to tell us about the foundation that you're beginning right now.
Well, we're starting the Frank Hall Foundation for the safety of our school children. And what it is we want to put resource officers, school resource officers, police officers at every school in America. You know, there's the great debate about gun control and mental health issues, and both those issues are above my pay grade. But we can secure our schools right now by putting a police officer in every single school. It may not stop every school violence, but it will deter a lot. There's been one school shooting with a resource officer in America. So we can do that. We're the richest nation in the world. I read an article the other day where we're at the all-time high in our wealth, $84 trillion in net worth. You know, we can put a school resource officer in every school. And that's our goal with the Frank Hall Foundation, is to put a school resource officer in every school and protect our children.
And it's just getting started, and so we'll have it on our website. We'll be able to connect with it and make donations to it to help it, because it is really just getting going. Let's come together. Let's pray together. God, I thank you so much for Frank and Ashley, for bringing them here today. God, for what you've done in their life, for what you continue to do. Thank you for their love for you, their love for each other, their love for their fellow human beings that are your children, that are your pride and joy. And God, I pray you would continue to bless them. Bless their lives, bless their marriage, bless those 6 kids they have. And God, I thank you for the inspiration that they've been to so many, and the inspiration that they've been to all of us right here. And the reminder, God, that you're with us no matter what we go through in life. You're in the thick of life. You're as much there on a horrendous Monday morning as you are present right here at this moment. And God, I pray for their foundation. I pray as Frank and Ashley share their story, God, you'll touch many, many more lives beyond what we could ever imagine. And God, I pray all of our hearts are opened more to you and to loving others the way you do, to loving others more completely because of being here today. God, again, we thank you for Frank and Ashley, and we ask you to bless them. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, guys.
Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee.
Well, I promise I'm going to be like 2.5 minutes. But if you want to sit down, go ahead. 2.5 minutes. But you know, does it bother anybody that there's so many school shootings and we don't remember them? You know, am I the only one that is bothered by that? You know, Jesus said in this life there'll be trouble, there'll be difficulties. But I don't think it gets any worse than school shootings. And what would you have done? Or what would you do in a situation like that? John 15:13 says, there's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Frank was willing to lay down his life for those kids and the people in the school that day. And you go, where was God? You know where I go God was? Right there at Chardon High School. I want to be very clear. God is never the author of something like this. God is repulsed by that. God hates that. God looks on and sees someone that God created and loves that is invested with a free will make a decision that broke God's heart because he ignored God's great command. Love your neighbor as yourself. But God was there at work, as Romans says. God works in all things. In the middle of a horrendous catastrophe, had Frank there early, had Frank chase him out of the building, come back in and comfort those students as their lives were ebbing away. 1 Thessalonians says, comfort those who are frightened. Take care of those who are weak. That's what Frank did. Romans, when God's children are in need, be the one to help them out. And you know what? Both those verses have implied one word. Not Frank. The word implied is you. You. Both of them. You be the one to take care of the frightened. You be the one to be on the lookout for those that are weak. You be the one to help those in need. That's what we all need to do. And I don't know about you, but meeting Frank and Ashley and hearing their story, gives me hope in the human spirit. And I think of some lessons from all of this. I go, life is precious. Life is precious. Life is a gift from God, should be protected and celebrated every single day. We don't know how long we have. We should celebrate every day of life. And celebrate it the best way would be to celebrate it the way the giver of life asks us to. Love God and love people every day. And I think we also see ordinary people can still do heroic acts and can still love courageously. Frank and Ashley have. Their whole lives are a testament of this. The principal at the school, go on and on. The police that were there immediately. First responders were there so quickly. Those that were wounded all got to the hospital on the operating tables within 45 minutes, and none of those that were wounded lost their lives. I mean, you read these stories of what happened that day, it takes your breath away. It does. And I think we're learning. Loving and caring for people, others, beats self-centeredness. It does. It beats us. Loving and caring for people. And I challenge all of us. Love and care for people more that God puts in our life. Hug our kids and grandkids a little tighter today. Say the words, I love you, to each other more, to our family, our friends, to our spouses. That might be my challenge. And I'd ask you, would you do that? Will you? And I think we're all learning deep faith in God. That's what matters most. Deep faith in God. And if we can take that away from all of this, I go, God is continuing to work good in a very horrible situation. Next week, we'll talk more about Love Works around here, but I want us to thank Frank and Ashley one more time. Thank you both for being here. Yes. Thank you. God bless you. We'll see you next week.